But what I am here to tell you is that in this room, statistically, 10 of you know exactly what I'm talking about. If someone had come to my youth group and said, you know what, you don't have to keep this a secret, and I would have had an opportunity to find somebody who was safe that I could tell, maybe that 21 years, maybe that 37 years could have been a little more joyful. But nobody did. And so just a few years ago, God said, you know what? You need to get out there. And so I did. I started this ministry, and guess what happened? I got cancer. What? Whoa, time out. No, I'm a victim here. I don't need any more of this. And so we set the ministry back a little bit. Got through that. Got back on board. Said, I'm going to go out there and tell the whole world because everybody's going to want to hear this. And nobody wanted to listen to me. Nobody invited me to come. You're only the fourth youth group in a church like this that I've spoken to in 5 years. You know why? Nobody wants to talk about it. It's a very dark secret, isn't it? And why don't we talk about it? Is because it is filled with shame. And shame not because I stole the Butterfinger and I feel real bad. That's called guilt, and that's a good thing. Don't steal Butterfingers. Shame is different. Shame is I'm horribly rotten to the core because I stole that Butterfinger. Do you see the difference? Shame is all about how bad I am and worthless I am. And the greatest thing to do that is when someone touches you inappropriately. Because it begins a lifetime of pain and suffering and damage and addiction, you name it. What you will begin to do is find a way to cover up that pain. Because sexual pain is the most difficult kind you can ever experience. That's why when Richard talks about sexuality in marriage, it's the greatest. So if your enemy is going to do something to take you down, what would he go after first? He would go after the thing that is the most powerful. And so what does he do? He goes after sexuality. That's the first point. If you've been touched inappropriately, you need to find someone you can trust. I was going to spend time on that, but I'm not going to go there. He did. Trust. Who could you trust? I couldn't trust anybody. At 13, who do you tell that you've been molested by an uncle who's a strong family member? Who would they believe, me or him? I'm 13. They're not going to believe me. They're going to believe him. So, okay, wipes him out. Talk to a pastor at a church. You're not going to believe what happened to me. Really? Are you making this up? He's your uncle. He wouldn't do something like that. Okay, I can't tell him. Do you tell your friends? When you're 13, you're going to tell your friend that a man... Whoa, ain't going there. And so at 13, I shut it down. And then it became easier and easier and easier, year after year after year, to just keep it a secret. Until I just about exploded inside. Got out there, began to teach it, and guess what happened? I had a heart attack. And laying on that table with the doctor leaning over saying something you probably don't want to hear. We've called your family. They're trying to get her as quickly as possible because, well, we're just not sure, Mr. Harbeck. Thank you very much. Thank you, doctor. I'm looking for Thank you. Are you telling me I'm dying? It's a good possibility. Wait a minute. God, you called me to go out there and share this, and now I'm going to die, and nobody's going to hear. I don't get this whole thing. And so, incredibly, not incredibly, miraculously, a series of circumstances. I got a stint. I'm here. I'm standing here talking to you, and I'm as healthy as can be. And I've committed the rest of my life to doing exactly what I'm doing right now because I don't want one of you, and see now none of you have an excuse. You don't get 10,000 church services and youth groups to say you didn't hear that there was a chance for hope if you told somebody. Now it's up to you to take the opportunity. That's the first point. Second point, the thing that scares me the most is that right now in this room, you are being attacked, not in this room, outside of this room, but each one of you in this room is being attacked and assaulted by Satan's weapon of mass destruction. And he's going to destroy all of us very quickly if we don't get a handle on this, but we aren't going to be able to get a handle on it because it's impossible. Therefore, you will be seeing, exposed to, and in my mind, sexually abused exactly the same way I was from 13 to 19. What are you talking about? Internet pornography. Internet pornography, I'm finding, is having the exact same effect on 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19-year-olds that sexual abuse had on me at the same age. That can't be. How can you say that? We're just looking at it. We just saw it by accident. We don't really watch it all the time. I have 4 boys that meet with me. I teach juniors and seniors in high school. I have 4 boys that meet with me every week. We secretly meet because they don't want anyone to know that they have been addicted for 8 years. You hear what I just said? I have 4 boys that are 17, 16, 17, and 18, and they've been addicted, and when they tell me what they do, they're addicted. 4 hours a day is addicted. And you know what? They're 18 years old, and they're exhausted. Like I'm exhausted, but I'm 56. I have an excuse. I'm an old guy who doesn't exercise. What's their excuse? Keeping the secret. They are trying and they can't do it anymore because what we have learned about internet pornography is it releases chemicals in the brain that are more powerful than methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine combined. God designed dopamine in the brain to stimulate us to get an understanding of what euphoria is, and that euphoria was designed by God for us to get an understanding of who He is. But, as Richard so brilliantly said, it's only for marriage. And yet, if you take that same behavior with the internet, it releases the same chemicals, only at the conclusion of that release is not the person that you were designed to be with, but there's a TV screen. How do you get intimate with a TV screen? You don't. And so what begins to happen is that the high from the dopamine goes down. You go through a whole series of guilt. I feel horrible, disgusting, dirty. And then the dopamine goes away and it starts all over again. And it goes around and around and around, and you've become a hamster. Running and running and running and not getting anywhere but shame. That's point number 2. What do you do about it? You tell somebody that you trust within this community. You email me if you want. You can have my website. You can look at anything you want. You read my book. It's yours. Take one. You don't have to pay me anything. It's a gift. Okay? Nobody buys sexual abuse books anyway. So don't worry about it. But somewhere down the line, whether it's today, tomorrow, the next day, you're going to remember. Some of you are going to say, I got to talk to somebody about this. And you will have begun the movement to healing that I have been enjoying for the last few years. I have 6 of the most beautiful grandchildren in the world, 37 years of marriage. All of those things that Richard talked about that are good, I've experienced. But for the first time, the last 5 years, I've experienced them the way they're supposed to be experienced. You are wonderful. You listened to me for the whole time and nobody said anything. Lord, thanks. This is a great group. But somebody here has heard me and needs you right now. Give this church, this community, someone just speak to their heart that they would be able to give safety and reach out to a great group of students who may be able to change San Leandro forever into a community that worships you. Amen? Amen. Nice to meet you all.